The birthplace of the NASCAR stars has earned more than its name over the years and has, as the name suggests, been the proving grounds for several rising NASCAR stars. The track, however, isn't the whole equation. There is perhaps no better platform for aspiring NASCAR drivers than the asphalt street stock. 4 gears, a V8, and a simple suspension geometry mesh very poorly with the bumps at Hickory, making tonight's 65-lap race an adventure. Welcome to Pit Stop TV, the virtual Hickory Motor Speedway. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and it's good to be joining you here this evening for coverage of Lucky Motorsports Street Stocks, brought to you by Elevated Performance. Tonight's coverage is, of course, brought to you by Elevated Performance, Lucky Motorsports Solutions, Whiplash Simcams, and CC's Business. It is good to be back. I know we only have spent the last 7 days apart since Iowa Speedway, but that's a long 7 days when the iRacing.com season build drops and everything changes, it feels like, on the sim. That said, with all of the new changes on the sim, the one thing that has stayed the same is we are still racing on these Tuesday evenings. What has changed, though, is the venue here at Hickory Motor Speedway instead of Lanier with dirt on it. So we talked a little bit about the Lanier glitch, if you will. There aren't many glitches in iRacing, straight up glitches, but that is one of them. And unfortunately, that was not fixed. So we are here at Hickory Motor Speedway for race number 8. The street stock here. Qualifying is set by Drew Wooten at a 14.980. We are, wow, hello. Tyler McRae has gone right by that, actually. Wow, McRae in qualifying a 14.906. Get iRacing on the phone. Brandon Kiger went around a 14.981. We have got some fast street stocks here this evening, and it's going to be a pleasure, of course, to watch these guys go after tonight's race. 65 laps as per usual. Weather conditions there atop your screens. 64.2 in the air, 67 on the racetrack, and we are set for a very, very fun 8th race of the season. Let's take a look at our point standings coming into this evening. Tim George, your points leader, by 8 over David Levine, 18 over Shucker, 32, there we go, over O'Hara, 34 over Langenberg, and the gaps continue to grow. The only place the gap doesn't grow is that tie for 9th place. Kevin O'Hara, Jack Gunsit tied up in the 9th position, just a few points ahead of Michael Melvin, who is now outside of the top 10. 7 races in, this is the 8th, and while the schedule, I'll tell you what, break out the handy-dandy telestrator, cross out Linear Dirt. Didn't get a chance to update that this week. Ignore that. The rest of the schedule here is correct, and we'll get that updated in post, I suppose. Posthumously, I think is the word. Regardless, next up, we do still head out to Linear on pavement next week before we head to our holiday break and come back in January of 2024 with our first points race of the year at Texas. Then we go through the last 7 races of the season. None of that should change. So good to see these guys back on track this evening, but a whole lot more is yet to come this season. Qualifying has just wrapped up. Let's take a quick look at what's upcoming here at Pit Stop TV beyond just this evening. More street stock action, but a whole lot more than just street stocks on Sunday evening. We'll get there in a second. We've got GT3 racing hitting the channel once again Thursday evening, December 14th. We have GT3 cars back on the racetrack at Road Atlanta. That is going to be a whole lot of fun, and it just kind of sets up for one fun weekend. We've got Sunday action, which we don't have very often, but the Icon Off-Season Mixed Mini-Series takes us to the Irwindale Figure 8 with 12 different iRacing cars, street stocks, legend cars, I think Radicals, I think the Pontiac Solstice, maybe the Global MX-5, a lot of different race cars there on Sunday evening. It's just a fun way for them to close their season out. And then, of course, Tuesday, we head back out to Lanier in Braselton, Georgia. So a whole lot of Braselton, Georgia this next week, apparently, on iRacing for us here at Pit Stop TV. But the cars and stars are ready to head down to the grid and get racing. I'm going to preface this by simply saying, if you couldn't tell already, I am rather congested. So I apologize in advance. We take an extra halfway, or not halfway break, an extra commercial break or whatever, or if I just don't sound quite right. Unfortunately, I'm not. But on pole, Tyler McRae, car number 99, 2 straight wins. He's back on pole this evening, looking to make it 3 And we will first turn iRacing chat down. I forgot that well, I have been racing. Not normal. So we'll have to work on that here in a moment. But anyways, we'll let the grid go by. Travis Sukup going to start from 3rd. Brent Meckes from 4th position. Zach Schucker from the 5th spot. Here we go. The grid is catching up. Traber Burns in 6th, Brandon Webb 7th, Brian Miller 8th, Tim George, Michael Melvin, Tyler Langenberg, Scott Myers, Jordan Miller. They all go on. I want to go ahead and quickly get that changed so we don't have the iRacing chat as we go green flag. Bear with me. We're going to do this on the fly. This is live TV at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. I promise it's going to be okay. B-roll coming down, and we have got green flag. That's the least accurate way to how I wanted to go green this evening. We have got cars off into turn number 3, and we'll shut the music down. That is lap 1 Hickory Motor Speedway. We're off and away for 65. At the very least, you saw most of the action from high above the Hickory Motor Speedway. 1 lap complete, cars backing up in the back, and we've got a caution. Lap number 2, Langenberg and Miller turned around in the rear. And hey, this gives us an opportunity to go back and review what just occurred on lap number 1. There's the start, Jordan Miller in the back. Gets loose there in 3 and 4, and guys, this is what happens when you get sick apparently. You leave the iRacing chat on because you actually ran a couple of races for the first time in a while. Miller up the racetrack, and he was the victim. Tyler Langenberg had a separate issue spinning his number 91 car around. So let's go back a little further and see the start of the race. Langenberg will bring us to the green right here. So this is turns 3 and 4. The field bunching up, McRae into the restart zone. They all kind of bunch up. And that is green flag. And watch now for this yellow and blue 91 the next time around. David Levine just behind. Michael Melvin outside. Tim George ahead. And in turn 1, things go wrong for the 91. He gets in a little bit deep. Melvin's there. Contact sends Langenberg for a spin, and Jordan Miller, not able to avoid, is the victim in that circumstance. So, now that we can breathe a little bit, well, I can't, but you guys can. Lap 6, and we don't see any pit stops under this yellow. Worth keeping in mind with the Whiplash SimCams race details, 65-lap race, 1 stage break around halfway, 1 required pit stop up to 3 green-white checkers, but the most important deal of all of this here on the first caution is that we have damage healing enabled. The damage they sustain during these crashes is not sustained. It fixes itself. Through the choose, cars go low, cars go high, and set our lineup to go back racing. Lap number 8 on the way. We are counting those caution laps, keeping this race moving. 19 cars in all. And I promise this restart will be a whole lot better than the start. Into the restart zone, McRae launches quick, and we are back green at Hickory. That lap goes complete, clean until that moment there. Addison Cook around. I think we're going to leave them green, possibly. He's still stopped. Now he'll get going. The leaders are in 3 and 4. This is going to get close. Side by side for second. Kiger inside, Meckes outside. And they let him race. McRae goes purple. He's just coming up on Addison Cook here in a moment. A lot of great battles further back in the field, though. I saw Traber Burns in a fight. Looks like now Brian Miller in one, and Levine loose out of turn 4. Nearly loses the car as Addison Cook goes straight to the bottom of the racetrack. Lets the entire field go by and will resume. So things have been hectic in the first 10 laps at Hickory. Let's see if it calms down now on a lap 11 and lap 12. Levine and Tackett, they race for 12th. Side by side, inside his 12th position, outside his 13th as they run. Levine down below in the 59 car. He runs 12th. Loose there on a turn number 4, and he was talking to me a little bit pre-race about how difficult this car was to handle here. The street stock is definitely a tamed down oval car compared to what you would usually drive on the sim. It's got less power, it's a little bit more simple, but that does not mean it is easy. Still side by side with Joey Tackett on the outside. And our second place driver in points is definitely having what I would call a little bit of trouble. Drops back to 13th spot. Meanwhile, up ahead, Meckes is broken free from Brandon Kiger. Kiger now has to worry about Travis Sukup. And these 4 street stock regulars are pulling away from the league regulars pretty soon, though. I think those guys out front have to be called our own regulars here at the Lucky Motorsports Street Stock Series. Meanwhile, Brandon Webb, 5th place. He is the top of our, quote, league regulars, running 5th, and not so far back from Sukup and not so far ahead of Zach Shucker, who's now in a fight with Tim George to the inside. Tim sends it up. Melvin gonna try and find a way by as well. Shucker just trying to hang on, and Zach is in now the 7th position. Where did he start? Well, started 5th, so he's already on the downward trend, and he's got to figure something out here quick. As Michael Melvin now looks to the inside, and that green, white, and orange Irish 36 will work the yellow line on the inside and lose grip on quarter exit. The top side is just so good if you know what you're doing with it. Tackett, Levine, and others in a line back here. Brian Miller, 11th spot. Tackett, 12th. Levine in 13th. Marshall in the 14th spot. We've got ourselves an 18-car field here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. That goes all the way back to Kevin O'Hara and Jordan Miller back in 17th and 18th positions, who are on the lead lap. Meanwhile, everything else seems to be happening ahead of these guys. Tim George, Zach Shucker, they are still fighting, and look at how close they are. Good fights further back in the field, side by side now are Tackett and Levine once again. Levine back on the inside, this time though on the offensive. And what a save out of Brandon Marshall. He gets jacked up by the 91 of Tyler Langenberg and hangs on to the race car. Not by much though, and I think he's looking back maybe to the inside here in turn 1. He might have got there for a little bit of contact to Langenberg. In the foreground, you can see Levine now gets by Tackett. That is good for the 12th position. Moving Levine up just a little bit more. He gets the wall, though, out of turn 4. Second place in the point standings. David is having some trouble here in the midseason. And problems for Jack Gunsit. He gets turned around, nearly gets the leaders. Slow down the bottom of the racetrack. There's 5th place Brandon Webb, and he will stay out of the way for the 20 car, it looks like. No caution yet. Gunsit runs wide. This could get a little bit hairy. Tags the right rear there, Brandon Webb, and he's going to stay high now for Tim George, who's approaching. We're coming up on our halfway break. We should get it from lap 30 to lap 33, maybe as late as lap 35, as that would be somewhere in our halfway kind of grace period. Meanwhile, Sukup is trying to change one of these positions before the end of the race, and they have come around to start lapping the remainder of the field. Jordan Miller now in the crosshairs for Tyler McRae. He'll dive underneath him. As you watch the battle for 3rd position, Sukup working on Kiger. This is 2 guys who are still brand new to the series, realistically. Sukup has more experience. Kiger only making his 2nd start of the season. McRae into this lap traffic. He's got to go back by Addison Cook. 2nd time, the 07 car will lose a lap. Kevin O'Hara just out ahead as Cook grabs the fence there out of turn number 2. Of course, track back to the mention of Tim George in the point standings. 1st place in the standings, 8 points, the gap now to David Levine. That has slowly grown. It was 6 points for a couple of races. So for it to go from 6 to 8, that's that small kind of gain that Tim needs. And of course, the margin back to third and fourth keeps widening as drivers miss a race or two and have to rely on other races as drops. So Tim keeps getting in a better and better spot, regardless of wins at this point from new drivers. I think Tim George can just about be considered a walk for the championship for, although we can't say it just yet. He's got to keep racing to get that position, although it's looking pretty good for car double odd, as now Melvin and Shucker get to racing just as we get the caution. And that will serve as our halfway break. Down a pit lane already. Tyler McRae going to lead the field in, and this is going to be a quick pit cycle for sure. These guys, I think, will have to rely on 2-tire stops tonight. It's going to be scary on 2 tires, but I'm not sure you can get 4 in on one of these cautions as you see everybody come down the pit lane. Brandon Webb down and straight through, no stop at all. I think he missed his box. McRae out first, then Mekis, then Tackett, then Kiger, then Sukup. Here comes Jordan Miller. He's a lap down. Tim George will beat out Michael Melvin. Then it'll be Zach Shucker. Now comes Traber Burns, then David Levine. And that runs back through 11th. Kevin O'Hara still in the pit lane. He's going to go up for 4s. It looks like anyways. There goes Scott Myers. And of course, these guys will let them... Well, league admins will work with drivers to get laps back. But you still don't want to have to rely on that. Every single lap led now for car 9-9. He has led, I don't know the exact number, but for the most part, I want to say 50% of the laps in the last 2 weeks. Point being, McRae has been really, really good lately. And Brandon Weld will drop from 5th down to 15th, missing his pit box under that caution period. Not many 4-tire stops, although of the drivers who went for 4, it looks like the fastest will be Brandon Marshall, car number 71. Fastest 4-tire stop that we see so far at a 20.90. And that means he is elevated above the rest to take our fastest pit stop of the race, at least to this point. That's still up for contest. Somebody can beat it with 4 tires and fuel if they would like. But for now, that will stand. Still under caution. And a big shout out to our boys at Elevated Performance. You can find them on the internet at www.teamelevatedperformance.com. And it's teamelevatedperformance.com. To rise, you must elevate. On the racetrack, rising and elevating above the rest has simply been the 99 car, but he's got contest. Brent Mekis now down to his inside. I think will close things up a little bit. This is one of the best opportunities Mekis has had in a couple of weeks. Through some of the onboard cameras, here's looking on from Brent Mekis' door, and now about Tyler McRae. Further back, Travis Sukup carrying one of our, well, all of our onboard cameras. Let's watch this restart from his perspective into the restart zone here through the chews, and we are back green at Hickory. A big bobble there for Mekis. Slow and crashing, the leaders scattering all across the racetrack, and we've got ourselves a parking lot and a complete change up through the entire field. All it took was one bad run out of turn number 2, and this race has been flipped on its head. Scoring is still getting sorted out. The time of caution is going to end up determining a lot of factors here in where these drivers sort back to, but one thing we know is Mekis will be towards the rear, and I think McRae will be as well. A big time problem. Here's the restart for your race leader, car 99. Mekas tried to get going, not sure what happened to him. He completely botched that restart. Then here out of turn number 2, what happens? Mekas gets into McRae. I think McRae might have come down a little bit. Wow, Michael Melvin gets tagged. Tramer burns across the racetrack. Everything we thought we knew about this race completely turned over. Melvin gets tagged by Sukup, who gets tagged by Tim George. They all stacked up on the bottom side as they try to check up. A few cars come in late. Here's the look from Brent Mekas. I don't know that he necessarily did anything wrong. A couple of really big hits, though. Jack Gunson is being held currently as he has gone one too many laps past the pace car. He'll go by now and put Jack back to where he needs to be. But everything has changed. We haven't seen many pit stops under this yellow, so the 20.9 still belongs to Brandon Marshall, who now runs 9th. Brandon Kiger now has the lead. Travis Sukup 2nd. And Tim George is going to line up 3rd. So we still have a couple of very strong race cars out front. We suddenly have some other strong race cars, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, that are on a completely different agenda from those drivers that have controlled these last 2 races. McRae back in 12th, Mekas back in 15th, as there's the choose. Langenberg a little maybe committed to the choose. So was Brandon Webb. They both hit the outside wall at a turn 4. And it's a bit predictable out front. The race leader takes the outside, his teammate goes inside, then Tim George goes inside, Zach Schucker goes outside. Filling in the gaps as we come around to take the green flag once more. Out of turn number 4, we've got less than 20 laps to go at Hickory. We're back green. Big crash. Michael Melvin turned to the outside wall hard. Tackett's involved. And we have wadded them up once more. Michael Melvin in the center of it all. And these boys will not take it easy on my congestion, I'll tell you that much. But car 36 getting tagged around off of the restart. We'll take a look back at what happened to our wonderful leader over at Lucky Motorsports Solutions. Puts in all the hard work week in, week out. He restarted 10th. McRae on the inside, Brandon Webb right behind. Maybe not the best view. Some door-to-door contact initially. Oh boy. Well, let's get a stable view of this. A little bit of contact there. Like Joey Tackett has had enough, unfortunately, for this evening. Melvin had come down a little bit, checked up. I'm not sure if he was aiming. It looks like he was aiming for the back end of the 99 car. For what reason, I don't know. But that seems to have sparked all of this. When he made contact with the 99, his nose went straight into the pavement and stacked everybody up. But we've got a restart coming at us once again. Now close to 10 laps to go. It's rolling by quickly, Hickory, even with the cautions. Side by side, front row, Kiger and Sukup the back. Rest of the bunch all mixed around. Green flag once again. Levine and Marshall real close in turn 1. Top 4 get single file. First battle is for 5th, then for 7th, then for 9th. They're all stacked up beyond that. 1 lap complete from the restart. We keep them green. 3 wide in the deep pack, but everybody else is going. Never mind. Tyler Langenberg turned around by Brandon Webb. Caution. Can't make contact on quarter exit. Usually you'd say you can't make contact on corner entry. That's where the car is loading. The car is unloading and getting light on corner exit. That's what we see grab the 91 car here on this restart. Lap 1 nice and clean. Brandon Webb up there in the black and yellow Grant Enfinger machine is going to come down and park it right behind Langenberg in 1 and 2. Langenberg got loose. That little bit of contact there is what turned him around. And I really can't put blame on Brandon, but the fact of the matter is, his nose hit Langenberg's rear, and that led to the caution. Here's another look at it on board here from Brandon. Really didn't do anything wrong, but the caution comes out regardless. That sets up for another restart, this time inside of 10 to go. It's gone by quickly. Looks like our fastest four-tire stop remains that of Brandon Marshall at a 20.9. As far as points go, Zach Shucker comes in this evening in an interesting position. The furthest back he's been this season, 18 points out of it as we head through the choose. We'll actually take this down for a moment. See where your favorite driver chooses to restart this race. Melvin going to go high in the back. O'Hara stays low. But you take a look at this standings list. Sean O'Hara now in a dead fight with Langenberg, who I think will take over that fourth position after this evening. Addison Cook is getting eerily close to the final four. We'll talk more about it when this race goes official. With the restart zone once more. 6 laps to go. No, 7 laps to go at Hickory. Big moves throughout the field on that restart. Levine and Marshall side by side making some contact. McRae now up into this fight. That is the fight for 6th position, 5th and 6th. Brandon Webb squarely into it. McRae dives down to the yellow line on the inside. He's going to pop up right reared and big crash again. There goes the 99. Caution, as you would expect. Kevin O'Hara involved. Tramer Burns, I think, might have been. McRae, Gunsit, Myers. And while it has not looked this way until now, I think the reign of terror of 2 weeks from McRae has come to an end. It looked like maybe he had a chance if things went right, although a slim chance until this caution here. He's going to come up into Marshall a little bit, I think. That's really close. Let's watch this from Scott Meyer's perspective. And he's going to have a front row seat to the whole restart. Speed it up just a little bit. This is where the crash is going to happen. Again, I don't know that anybody did anything wrong, but we have a crash. And that will send the Lucky Motorsports Solutions Street Stocks into overtime for the first time in a while. Elevated performance overtime. To rise, you must elevate above the rest. We're going to see somebody do that this evening. We're going to see 18 others not be able to. As McRae has called it a day, Tackett has called it a day. 17 cars left at Hickory Motor Speedway. There we go. Getting so little air, I'm starting to stutter. We've got Kiger outside, Sukup inside, and then everybody else is going to fill in behind. We have Tim George on the inside of row number 2, then Zach Shucker the outside. In row 3, it'll be David Levine inside, Brandon Webb outside. Row 4, Addison Cook inside, Brandon Marshall outside. Into the restart zone once again. Green flag, 2 laps to go. Travis Sukup down low, Zach Shucker outside, and Melvin gonna spin in the middle, and we have got ourselves a crash. Will we keep it green? Maybe. The rest of the field, yes, they take the white flag. Brandon Kiger out front of the field. Second start of the season, is gonna drive away from his teammate Travis Sukup and win under the lights at Hickory Motor Speedway in race number 8. And Sukup goes purple on the final lap. Bit of a messy finish this evening, but Brandon Kiger will take it to victory lane and be able to burn down with a couple of teammates. His teammate Travis Sukup going second place. And I would guess that driver 85 is excited. Parksy right in front of our camera down there on the front stretch, and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about these drivers, with these drivers when it's all said and done. Let's go take a look back at our unofficial race results. After 67 laps of racing, it all happened way too quickly. Car number 85 leads them to the checkered flag. Brandon Kiger wins by 0.259 seconds over Travis Sukup, about a quarter of a second. Then you get back to Zach Shucker, third place. Timothy George, your points leader, will finish fourth. David Levine somehow drives up to fifth and hangs on for a really solid points finish that he needs. Addison Cook, same deal, goes sixth. Jordan Miller rebounds after a few weeks away. He finishes seventh, just over Brandon Webb. Brent Meckes rebounds into the top 10 to finish ninth, as Brandon Marshall makes it into 10th position after also missing a few weeks himself. The rest of the field there, 11th through 20th. And already, Brandon Kiger is ready to talk to us. Only 27 laps led, Brandon. It was basically the back half of the race, or so it felt like. It was a very quick start, albeit one caution early. You had the halfway break. It seemed like everybody went for tires. You went for two. Why is that?
Yeah, we made a very big air pressure adjustment there at the right after qualifying. See if it would help us out. It really didn't. It really tightened us up, and two tires was going to free us up, drop the air pressure a little bit, and it did. Still don't think we had the best car. I think the best two cars got to a little accident there, racing for the lead on the restart. But we take them how we can get them.
Hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Tonight, you're lucky and good. Finishing, well, a quarter second ahead of one teammate and well ahead of the other two. Now the focus, it would be Lanier next week. A very different racetrack. Do you have any kind of notes, any kind of setups in the background for that place?
No notes. I think we have something in the book for it here. Got a lot of setups to go off of. We'll just try to build something up, and hopefully it goes fast and can be up front, but we'll just see how it goes next Tuesday, and hopefully we can be fast again and get to victory lane.
Now, if you guys keep having this kind of success, does that mean we can rope you into running some of these road course races too?
I will probably be here for a couple road courses. I personally like road course racing. I'm pretty decent at it, not the best, but
you got to score,
okay
guys.
At it.
Well, I'll tell you what, the couple of road courses we have left this season are pretty unique, pretty fun. Brandon, good to have you and your guys here in the series. Congratulations. We'll be talking to you some more for sure.
Awesome, man. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate the LMS guys, and appreciate my teammates out there dropping bombs. Brett and Mike, and or Travis on here, as y'all know him, and Tyler McRae. I appreciate them helping us out throughout the week.
Brandon Kiger goes first place this evening. That's how you want things to go when it's all said and done. And it looks like that will be it as far as the dropping bombs drivers. No Travis Sukup in the Discord from what I can see. We'll see if he ends up joining afterwards. Moving through the field, though, we do have Zach Shucker going third place this evening. I think you'll be glad to talk to us after a week away at PRI, and certainly this is a good way to come back, Zach. Not second, third place this evening. Second would have been even better, but third place still a really good way to ease back into things, I'd say, here at Hickory.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I wish I could have figured out something a little bit more on the car. I just really struggling to get a handle on this car, but I'm not going to complain about third. You know, I think I was probably a 4th to 6th place car most of the race. And then on the restart immediately after the competition caution around halfway, the leaders, they all got together, seas parted, and there was a gap, so I tried to shoot the gap and get through it, and I made it. So that was big for track position there. I didn't have anything for the front two, at least not on fire off. Especially the leader. I don't know what he's got figured out, but his car really took off the first lap. But even second place, they were both just lightning fast. Over the long run, I started to come back towards them, but it wouldn't have mattered. Even if we went green, you know, the last 25 laps, I don't think I could have touched them.
Recently, you've kind of backed up away from our top two in points. I think tonight will help you, though. We'll see how it all works out after drop weeks. Is there anything you feel like that you can do within your control to actively close that gap, or is it just keep going out every week and execute as best as you can?
Just control what I can control. You know, take advantage of when other people's make mistakes, like tonight. I definitely think there's gonna be tracks I'll be stronger than I was here at Hickory. I'm hoping. You know, hopefully that's next week, but we'll find out. I gotta figure out how to make this car turn a little better. I always like a car with a responsive front end, and I can't get this one to do that, and if it does, it's just dirt track and it never grabs once it does that. So it's just fighting my style and trying to figure out how to make it work. You know, the biggest thing is keeping it drivable. It seems like as long as it's drivable, I can manage to end up higher than where I probably should be a lot of the races. But, you know, just control what's available to me and don't try to overdrive when there isn't anything there to get.
Well, it's not your first win of the season, Zach, but it's the closest that I think you've been in a while. It's still very close up there and a bunch of points for you. Hopefully we see you go a couple of spots higher in a week or so at Lanier.
Yeah, I think that's 3 consecutive podiums when I've shown up, because I had a 3rd at Oxford racing for 2nd, and I forget where the track was before that, but
Tsukuba,
sure
that's right, 2nd.
Yep.
Yeah, so. Okay. I take that back. Still very close. I mean, there you go. 3 podium finishes, 2nd, 3rd, and 3rd when you're here. Zach, you're on fire. Hopefully we'll see you next week at Lanier.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Zach Shucker, a big part here of the series. I wish I could talk more with everybody here in this series. Unfortunately, that swollen throat, congested, everything not going to work for me this evening. Let's go back through the results quickly. You're all 20 cars in the results. Of course, Kiger with the race wins. Sukup 2nd, is then Shucker in the 3rd spot. Everybody else through your top 10. Worth noting, of course, Tyler Langenberg. I talked about him being on the verge of taking that spot away from Sean O'Hara. That might not be the case anymore. 16th place at the end of the race. Let's take a look back, actually, and see if we can figure out what happened on that restart. We're going to go just a little further back and take a look at car 91. Yellow and blue car. And actually, it'll start with Michael Melvin. Gets into Brandon Marshall, gets stacked into by Brent Meckes. It just comes down and collects the 91 car. Traber Burns, nowhere to go. And that was that. One more time, Melvin just gets into the 71 car, gets stacked up, and a big hit. On board with Tyler Langenberg, and then we're going to close this thing up. Next up for us, talked about it earlier, we head out to Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, right across the street from where these guys will be taking their street stocks next week. Wow. That was a big, big hit for those two drivers. Thankfully, it's a sim. You won't have to feel that one in the morning. But next up for us at the channel, we head out to a very, very special Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for the first round of GT3 racing from the North American Racing League, brought to you by Infinite Racing Services. Then we head out to the Irwindale Figure 8 for a whole bunch of fun on Sunday, and we get back to points racing for Caffeine and Octane Linear Raceway Tuesday evening, December 19th. Here for the Lucky Motorsports Street Stocks. It's been a pleasure as always this evening. Thanks to everybody for watching. That will do it for us though from Hickory Motor Speedway, the birthplace of the NASCAR stars. A shout out to those who help us get to and from the virtual racetrack, of course, Whiplash SimCams, ATVO and CC's Business, and the partners here on the bottom of your screen. In audio, ATVO, Whiplash SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com. That will do it for all of us here at Pit Stop TV. Have a great night. We'll see you at Lanier.